I'm really looking forward to our next presentation. We've got our duo on stage already with me. That's going to be Work and Wellness, Designing to Heal, Engage, and Endure, exploring the integration of art and creative design services and how they transport the workplace into more than just a productivity center. So presenting this talk, we have Quána Madison, multidisciplinary artist, art lifting, and Stephen Brown, Senior Vice President of Global Market Development at the International Well-Building Institute. Quána Madison is a multidisciplinary artist, a well-being advocate, and designer of wearable art, very cool, whose creative work is rooted in healing and resilience. After a profound, life-changing health episode, she turned to art as a powerful tool for recovery and expression. Quána promotes mental health, social justice, and community wellness, collaborating with cultural and advocacy organizations across Colorado. Stephen Brown brings more than 25 years of global experience in interior solutions and workplace strategy. As Senior Vice President of Global Market Development at the International Well-Building Institute, Stephen works closely with senior stakeholders who recognize that human health and well-being significantly influence key corporate performance metrics, including productivity, engagement, and resilience. So let's give a big round of applause for these two. Of applause. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. And I'm based in our New York headquarters. And for those of you who don't know the International Well-Building Institute, also known as IWBI, we manage and support the well-building standard. We are also a public benefits corporation. But one of the things I want to point out before I move on is I'm also proud to be on the advisory board for art lifting. And I spend more time trying to connect and expose some of our great artists to a lot of the corporate clients who are looking to ways to impact their own social impact in the communities they serve. Excellent. So one of the things I like to throw out there is the next time you have somebody ask you to value engineer something, and in your heart you know it's going to have a positive impact on people, ask them this question: how much is an additional 10 years of life worth? We also know that when our body is at the end of our life, if you don't know, we live longer than our brain and actual life health internal systems, which means that poor quality of life at the end happens more often than not. The good news is we know how to improve that and make sure that our brain and body keeps up with our life to have more quality of life at the end. And that's through healthy spaces, and it's important that you understand that. A lot of times I will tell designers and facility managers that you could have more impact on people's health than their doctor because of the spaces you're designing and managing. And once that sort of light bulb goes off, you realize how important your role is and should be. The well-building standard is really your science and research-backed library of strategies and roadmap to help you create these healthy environments. The well standard, the adoption of it is extremely growing fast post-pandemic. Once everybody learned about indoor air quality and realized our environment actually has positive and negative impacts on us, everybody is starting to take off and find ways to get this off the ground. The other thing is the standard now, growth-wise, is in over 130 countries, over 6.3 billion square feet of real estate being used. And it's important to understand there's a lot of reasons for that. But the thing that we try to help everybody understand is it's broken up into really specific areas to have different types of impacts. We have 10 concepts in 3 major buckets. The 3 buckets are really around HR and building operations policies and the design and construction choices that you impact. That combination holistically has the most impact on people. One of the things I want to just briefly spend time on, I'm just going to highlight 2 of the 10 concepts because sometimes they can be overlooked. The first one is community. This is really to help you think about things in your environments and your spaces and more of a topic around belonging. around inclusive design, around equity, around social connectedness. Because we know when people feel safe, heard, and seen, their performance, their well-being, and overall satisfaction is so much improved. And if you're not thinking about that early in the process, you miss out on a huge opportunity. The second concept is mind. We know that 30% of adults are dealing with mental health issues as we speak. That number is growing exponentially, which is why C-suites of many companies finally recognize this as a huge crisis and need to find solutions to mitigate, slow down, and address. When you look at the mind and community concepts, it really helps you decide how people can fully show up as their true selves or not show up at all. And it's extremely important and exciting when you have that type of power and opportunity. One last thing, want to let everybody know, we've been in the marketplace for 10 years, and over that time, we've come up with a lot of great research to answer the question, what is the ROI of investing in health, and what is the ROI of using well? We now have amazing case studies, stats that you can share, almost 250. You can download from a website, you can zap the QR code there to get it right now, but please share this with your teams, your clients, especially when you get the question. Now you have an answer to show them. So with that, I have the pleasure of introducing Quána.
Namaste, everyone. The light in me honors the light within you. I would like just to start by telling you a story. So about 10 years ago, almost exactly to the day, emergency responders found me lifeless, not moving on the floor, in a pool of my own blood. They initially thought I was dead, and during this moment, I was having this out-of-body experience where I could see the first responders from like where I was, and I could see them below me, and I could actually hear the first responder say, "She's already gone." And during this profound out-of-body experience, a message that came to me was, you're not alone. It's an illusion to think you're alone. And remember to try to be in community with others, because we need that. And so after that experience happened, EMTs rushed me to the hospital. I had emergency life-saving surgery. But afterwards, I developed incurable chronic illnesses that caused like chronic fatigue, chronic pain, and suddenly I couldn't access any of the work that I had done in my past. And a lot of spaces were not accessible to me. And so I had been an educator, a teacher for many years beforehand, but I couldn't do that in my new body. And so after that happened with that change, and it was due to going through cancer treatments for breast, ovarian, and uterine cancers. That's where my complication came from that caused me to nearly die. And after I had these changes to my body, I had to drop out of my PhD program. I became financially destitute from the crushing medical debt, and I eventually became homeless. And so during this really dark time in my life, I discovered the power of art and how art brought my soul back to life. And I started making art. I started painting for the first time. I never even owned art supplies before. And I found that art helped me reduce my stress. It helped me with coping with everything going on. But it also gave me hope, because you can't have hope without creativity. And so after I discovered this, I found that, okay, I'm gonna share my art with others. And when I did that, I had people, strangers, reaching back out to me to go, hey, reading your story and seeing your art helped me. This is helping me to endure other things. And so when I got that type of feedback, I was like, okay, I wanna start using art to nourish the well-being of others. And so I started to create art with that intention of how can I help other people? And as that went on, I was very blessed to be represented by Artlifting, an amazing organization that supports artists with disabilities. And they helped me expand the different types of spaces that I could put my art to help support well-being. And although I experienced this through my lived experience, knowing art could make a difference, I found the science fascinating, though, how looking at artwork can actually reduce cortisol, how it can support stress reduction, how art can actually be opportunities for people to connect with each other, that it can really support people in ways that are measurable. And so I decided that I wanted to create a new life forward by being an artist that creates art for all kinds of spaces, to intentionally try to uplift people, to help support people and make a difference. And so now that I do this, one thing that I would like everyone in this room to think about is to know that each one of you can be an agent of art, to be an advocate of art, where together we can collaborate to design spaces, to integrate art, to help support these larger goals of well-being. And to me, this is deeply connected to accessibility, where when we think about belonging and creating spaces that are not just accessible, but help all peoples to thrive, that's where I feel like art can be this amazing tool to integrate into your space. And even if you're not the main decision maker, that doesn't mean that you cannot find ways to share art with others, to advocate for having art in spaces where it can be an opportunity to not only support mental health and emotional well-being, but it can be an opportunity for people to connect together behind the stories of the art, which are really at the heart of like the art that I know I create and many other art-lifting artists create. So I hope that you take that message and just know that you can help other people not feel alone, that you can help give hope and help well-being of others just by helping promote getting art into those spaces.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And that's one of those things that, yes, please, please. One of the many examples of why I love being part of the art lifting community, because of what they do and how they help so much. I'd just like to ask a few different questions for you. First, you've been in the healthcare spaces as a patient and as an artist whose work hangs on the walls. What's the biggest difference between those two experiences?
For me, I've spent a significant amount of time in healthcare spaces for treatments, and as a patient, I never realized how much a built environment can impact my healing or the healing of others, because built environments are not neutral spaces. They either can be harmful or they can be incredibly helpful. And so when I was in spaces that often had art and lighting and air and things designed in a way that can actually uplift my well-being, I healed faster. I healed better. I felt like I can follow the different things I needed to do to endure to manage my new chronic disabilities. But as an artist now, I go, wow, how do I collaborate with everyone who's involved to center the people in that space, to center their stories, how they need to use that space, to then create artwork that can support them in that space. And not just the patients, but the healthcare providers, the other people that come through that space that also benefit from the art and the design of that space.
No, that's great. When you walk into a space and see art that reflects your life, that you can connect with, or more importantly, doesn't, how does that feel?
Sometimes there could be spaces that technically have art up, but the stories are not there. And it can just feel like, oh, okay, that's nice in the background, and I can appreciate the aesthetics of it. But when art is intentionally designed and placed into different spaces with the conscious intention to have impact on people, I find that it feels like this warmth that is inside you, almost similar to the warmth of, you ever have a conversation with someone and you're talking with them and you get like that warm fuzzy feeling where you're like, I feel like I just have known you forever. Like, that's how I feel when I'm in spaces where art is integrated in ways that can really help promote belonging by seeing yourself reflected. Or also, as a person with disability, my disabilities are unapparent, so a lot of people don't know that. But through the stories that are shared, and I have to say Artlifting does an incredible job of this, of not only just having art in space, but sharing the stories, the pictures of the artists, having the artist share about the art. When you get into the heart of that, that's where I feel like belonging can come in. And not just representation, but also that, you know, in this time in the world where loneliness is an epidemic, and as we bring people back into more built spaces, we need to find ways to support our community members with connecting authentically, with helping support them with making meaningful connections. And that's where I think art can be positioned in ways, and the stories with it, where you go, hey, I know someone like that too, or this, my family members experience this, or hey, I now know that this artist created this with this intention, and now when I walk by it, I want to bring like my clients to see this because I know it can uplift them too. That's where I feel like the power lies in that.
Yeah, that's great. And I am often in large financial clients, life science clients, different sort of industries that you may not think that this is even a thing, or they wouldn't think about it, or they'd be too conservative to have impact. But what I'd love to see is art is being a way to introduce many different populations, many different stories. And I've physically seen people get excited in front of some pieces to say, wow, that has been done by somebody like me, or whatever. And it tells the company, or the company tells them, that everybody matters, and we're not sort of just protecting certain types of individuals, which is huge. As we celebrate Pride Month right now, things like that everybody just feels more comfortable. We are all people. Let's figure out, learn about our differences, celebrate that. And it gives the permission for people to be themselves, which again is kind of what we're trying to get at, is extremely important and helpful. Last question I'd like to ask. What would you want a designer in the room here to do differently when they go back home?
When I think about this question, I look at everyone in this room and I try to be present to really feel the presence of everyone in this room right now. And I go, I want you to remember that you are a light in our world, that you are a light just by being you, and that you can help shine more light into our world. And when you're designing spaces, when you're collaborating with clients and other manufacturers, to really center the stories of the people you think will be in that space, the people that you're working with and what motivates them to want to create together. And to remember that when you are designing spaces together, you have the ability to create healing spaces, and not just spaces that are accessible or, look amazing, but really truly create spaces that can help people thrive. And so think and challenge yourselves. Imagine, how can I be a light to help create spaces where I can help people thrive in the space, not just have well-being, but to thrive. And know that you're all capable, and the more that we come together with that light that we each have, the brighter of light we can put into the world, and we need that.
Completely agree, and really appreciate that sentiment. And I hope everybody just gets a few ideas to try to think a little differently. Sometimes we just get too close to things, and we're just making those decisions without even thinking about them. We need to step back, look at each other as human beings, and really try to create environments that have positive impact to deal with all the other stuff that's out of our control in the world. So again, really appreciate your time here, and hopefully we've given you a few ideas to take back home. Thank you very much.
Thank you.